also need to look at whether Strickland Street becomes either a cul-de-sac or there's some other method for accessing that street so that we're able to have an entrance from the park. That has not been fully determined yet. I am in the process of working with town staff as well as landowners. Fred's here. As well as landowners. Fred, we're on the Route 17 project. Under old business. In addition, the fields, there's 2 baseball fields, 2 soccer fields, and then a number of other activities such as basketball court, playground area, splash pad, structures, trails, and so forth. So those are all items that could potentially be done, not all at once. You can't do everything. There's that concept. Steps. In terms of grants, we know of grants. We know that STEEP is a grant that's available to cities, towns of a certain population. We are for those. They've been very successful in helping us. Other grants I have not researched because at this point we don't have the documents that have been fully determined. So typically when you go after grants, you have a shovel-ready project, which we will have, which we will. But I can't tell you tonight that we will have a there will be a lot of work going into that yet. In terms of estimates of financing for the attorney, who is Bruce Chudwick, and Bruce recommended that if this project proceeds, when this project proceeds, that the entire project should be put out there in terms of what the number is. Because if you piecemeal it, then you're really not getting proper approval for the entire project. So when you decide to put this out to bonding or out to financing of any sort, he emphasized that you would want to have the voters know the entire project.
Including whatever grants we...
Well, it would be the project, not...
Just the part that would be borrowed? Just the part that would be borrowed? Or the
Well-
whole project? The whole project, I would think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like we did with the schools. Mark, remember when we put the schools out for bonding, the question was for the entire project, the $40 million project for the schools, even though we anticipated...
Oh, you mean for town approval.
For town
Okay.
approval,
Yes.
right, whenever you get the
Yeah,
financing.
yeah,
So
yeah.
everybody knows what it is you're doing and how much the entire project costs, with the understanding
Oh, Senator.
that there's different ways of either financing or funding, such as notes, bonds, obligations of the town, tax money, grants, and other types of financing that might be out there. So with that as a brief backdrop, I wanted to go to this packet that I think you have, which is a summary page and 2 probable cost estimates. We'll start with the green sheet, just so that you can see that there is a preliminary opinion of probable cost as a baseline that was dated May 1, 2014. And at that point, it was a $7 million project for the entire project estimate. And there is another probable cost, alternative A, which is June 13th. And that probable cost is an estimate, and I emphasize estimate, of $5.4 million. Now, if you look at this sheet, the summary sheet, it would tell you what has been included in those estimates. The Strickland Street improvements are estimated to cost $330,000, which may be a high number. But these estimates are high, so that we're not underestimating here, we don't believe on that one. Site preparation is $590,000. Site improvements and amenities, which would be roadway, drainage, infrastructure, trees, irrigation well, traffic signal if required, is $1.5 million. Picnic tables, they estimate $92,000. In alternative A, that is eliminated. Baseball field number 1, which would include the ball field, backstop, irrigation, drainage, fencing, retaining wall, bleachers, netting. That looks like that would be a total of $230,000 and change for the field, and then $30,000 for netting, retaining wall, bleachers, and another $30,000.
Susan, can I just ask you, what's the basis of the estimates?
They're from the engineers. The basis would be what?
I know you said they're high, but some of these seem...
Very high.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's also a time element to this, because I think they would anticipate that this is not going to be done tomorrow or with today's dollars. So I think there's a valiant effort to try to say that this is the number that could be, depending on when you put it out there. Let's see, baseball field 2 is similar, it's a little bit less. Soccer field, if you were to do a synthetic turf field, and I did a little bit of homework on that, and I gave you a copy. Maybe I didn't give it to you yet.
No, you didn't.
Okay. Oh boy, I have a lot of papers here.
It's okay, we don't need it yet.
Well, what this is the town of Plainville was in the paper recently, as recently as yesterday, I believe.
Oh,
And they got, for one of their schools, a grant of $950,000 for an athletic field that is an artificial turf athletic field. And they're anticipating this Friday that they will be on the State Bond Commission agenda. And it would be a grant. If the state grant is approved, the new field will probably be installed next summer and be ready for use in fall of 2015. Artificial turf fields have been installed recently in New Britain and Southington High Schools, and one is being installed this summer in Farmington. Representative Betty Bucas of Plainville said the new field will provide a safe playing surface for athletes of all ages, and the town will save on maintenance. The durability of the surface will allow more local athletes and teams to play on what will be the crown jewel of Plainville's athletic fields. In addition, because we also have a splash pad, this same representative got Plainville $151,000 state grant for a splash pad. So I just put these here as an illustration that Representative Bucas, who was working with her town, was able to get some substantial grants, and that's just in the last few days that's been in the newspaper. The other items that are listed here for pricing estimates include the basketball court, playground area, structures, pathways, trails, and some of those trails were removed in the alternative A, excuse me, as you can see. And the subtotals are listed there as I mentioned earlier. So this page shows you the baseline and shows you alternative A with the differences. So you have a way of understanding what it is we're talking about. Now, for draft estimates, which I was asked to get in terms of bonds, this was as of today, and this is a draft. If you were to bond for any project, whether it's this project or any project, $7.5 million, at an estimate of 4% for 20 years, it's about a little over $500,000 a year in terms of the fee.
that's the best rate we could get right now.
No, probably a better rate than that. But remember, this is for 20 years. So, again, we're trying to estimate high here.
Excuse me, that's a fixed term for
Yeah.
20? Wow, that's
It's high.
We're not
20 years, that's a long time. I think, that's a long time to have your money out. God bless you.
If you were to take out $5.5 million, which was the alternative A, it's a little over $400,000 a year. for 20 years. If you were to only finance $2.5 million over 20 years, it's about $184,000 total. If you were to take out a loan, maybe not a bond, but a loan for $2.5 million for 1 3/4% over 5 years, that's about $500,000 each year. Makes sense, $2.5 million over 5 years. And if you did it over 5 years at a lesser amount of $2 million, it's about $420,000 for 5 years. The other information that I'm giving to you is a reminder of what you have in terms of your debt service right now, and I believe that's in your packet.
It is.
Okay. So that you have a refresher of the bonds that we have out right now. And I have details on this if anybody had questions on it, as well as details which I can provide you, but I don't want to give you too much if you don't ask for it. This would be the unit cost for site preparation, the unit cost for the access road of Strickland Street, the amenities and site improvements, and then it's delineated as to what each item would be. As, again, these are only estimates for the baseline and for alternative A. If anyone would like that, I do have those.
In our budget, we have a document that shows the payment schedule on the outstanding bonds that we have, doesn't it? Shows the years, how it declines.
It's not in our...
Somewhere we have that.
We can get that for you, Mark. We don't have it typically in the budget.
I thought, we've got it someplace.
We've had it.
We've had it,
It's
yeah.
in our audit.
Oh,
I think it's in the
okay,
audit,
I can look
which
at
you do
that,
have.
yeah.
Yes, it's in your audit.
Just timing with a project like this is
Correct.
everything.
Correct. And that's why the financial advisor is so important once you determine that the project will be actually bid out and funded. It may not, well, yeah, it's something you would do before you put it out to bid, because, out to the,
Sure.
out to the vote, because people would want to know how this works.
Well, how it's going to impact the
Yes.
taxes, sure.
Now, the committee, who has been working very hard, should get some direction from us in terms of what kind of bid documents we want to have. What the engineer said to me is that if you're going to do it in steps, you wouldn't put out the entire project at one time, but rather, as I indicated earlier, you might do the grading and get an estimate for what that would be. And then you would do an estimate for the next project. But the way the bid documents would be prepared would be for that bid, and then for the next one, and the next one, and the next one. If you bid the entire project, then they would give us the entire bid document. The contract is for $188,000, and I think they've spent $118, if I'm not mistaken, so far, of the contract. And then the steep grant is for more than that. I think it was 227. I don't have the exact number, but there's some residual dollars there. So in terms of trying to move ahead, I wanted to give you some of these facts so that you can begin to determine which, I will tell you, Bruce Chudwick said he will work with the town, and if the town desires to put this on the ballot, he can help us with the question, have it ready, and have it presented to you, and you make the decision 60 days before the election in November. Because you must have your referendum question ready 60 days. So that leaves you, because I don't expect you to have a decision tonight, because this is a lot of information, probably leaves you 4 to 5 weeks.
Well, I would like to see our debt service schedule and to see when some of our current bonds mature, because I think that'll play a part
Sure.
in the affordability of this
Sure.
project. And is there any way to research what other grants might be available for a project like this?
Well, sure, it's going to take some time,
Yeah.
but it is something that I feel that comfortable doing. It's already something we've started to do.
Is that something you have to do personally? Or?
Well, it's something that I work on with others, sure.
Yeah.
Some of the members of the committee are interested in helping with that. We have some
Good.
very good people on that committee. It's something I would bring to our state legislators and work with them on, as well as the governor's office and the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, as well as perhaps DOT, because this does involve state road access and just general private grants and foundations that you can look at as well. The other thing that traditionally, when we have a project that involves a major decision, we typically will have a series of meetings to explain things in detail once the project is determined that it's a go, so that people can understand it. And I think we also need to have some time for if the committee is interested in doing some of the educational seminars or presentations, to do so, or perhaps another group, or we would do that. So, education, education, education.
Sure.
The
That's how we
other,
go to school.
the other element, correct, Mark, the other element that is here, and we've talked about it, and I know that Fred has been very good about helping us get this on our agendas, are other items that the town needs to do over the next 20 years. There's this project, there's water projects, there's sewer projects, there's road projects. We don't have them ready, shovel ready. Those are things that we know are on the docket because we take a look at our infrastructure and we take this very seriously as to how we fund capital projects going forward. We have a 5-year capital project plan that I think we should all review. And at the same time, I will be researching for grants and how this project can be approached. Because my goal is to get it done. And that this is something that is important to the town, and we know that we have fields that we don't own, and I do not want to continue to invest money in fields that we do not own. And consolidation of fields, I understand, is an objective of the commission as well as the grounds division, so that we don't have people going all over town doing the fields and things. Here you'd have 2 baseball fields, 2 soccer fields. You would not have the rented fields. They don't charge us anything, but we take care of them at the YMCA, and then the Tomaso field. Now, the Tomaso field, and talking about this, is another thought here, and that is an industrial zoned property. And if it's no longer a ball field, it makes sense to think about how else can that land be used in perhaps another way. That would be jobs and places somewhere.
That's not our property then, is it? No.
But we've been using it, I don't know how many years, Mark, ever since I
could
lived in town.
tell you. I could tell you. I'd have to piece it back, but I actually could tell you.
So that's some of my homework that I did, that I wanted to bring to you, and I'll open it up.
Thank you.
Yeah, this would be helpful to look at the project. I want to, have we looked at these numbers that for the estimates? Have we thought about any in-house doing some of this work, or is everything going to be bidded to a?
It is something that we have looked at. I know that Public Works and I have looked at the cul-de-sac work, and this estimate is much higher than what.
It's the same thing I'm
we
saying,
estimate.
maybe like the cut and fill on the grading or something with a big machine. Can you guys get it? I know you guys can do it.
We don't have the manpower nor the equipment.
Well,
We don't have the manpower or the equipment to get involved in something like that. What the plan was to get a grading plan where we could get rid of some of the excess fill that we have a problem now disposing of over a period of time and do the prep work.
Right.
But this would not, if it gets done, in a year, that doesn't benefit us at all.
That excess fill, what
We
would,
generate excess fill every day from all the jobs that we do, and now are running out
yeah,
of places to put it. Matter of fact, we have no more places to put it. So this would be, I've been pushing for this for a long time to just get a preliminary grading plan so that we could
be dumping.
Win-win.
fill.
I mean, it would have a place to dispose of, plus would be preparing the fields.
Well, that's something like I'm talking about, you know, it is in-house. Where
Well, that would
you're
be-
putting your soil there, we're moving it
But
around.
what would be talking about would lend itself well to this because it'd be over a period of time.
Well, it depends on how long it takes to do the project, though. How far they want to go, how fast they want to go.
That's, it's what we're talking about.
If you put this out in a phase, for example, which I think probably is a good idea, phase one would be basically filling and grading.
Great.
And that would occur probably over a period of 6 months by a contractor. That's the first thing you do, is bring it to grade. And that would occur in an out-to-bid situation or, you know, by a contractor in Paul until they bring it to grade, which would be a logical way to do it.
You're gonna need a lot of material to fill on this, I haven't looked
I
at it.
expect that I haven't really seen much of the plan.
Because I thought
I expect there'll be some fill and cut, but I suspect there'll be more fill and cut.
yeah, I thought it was gonna be a lot of cut, and
I don't think so. I think you've got to elevate those fields.
I haven't seen it, so I haven't seen it. So, and this is the kind of things I was wondering, how much of in-house, or how much time, is it better to take a year or two to go through or to put it all out in one shot?
It'd be hard to put it all out in one shot. After talking to Weston and Sampson, they seem to indicate that what Rick is saying makes the most sense, is to get the grading done.
Grading's gotta be done first, you gotta have the foundation to
Correct.
build everything on, all the line, right?
Rather than putting the entire project out to bid, which is a
Yeah,
huge undertaking.
pretty huge.
And it's gonna take a period of time, just because it takes time to move earth and to build back up. More conversation has to happen, I think, with Weston and Sampson in terms of their recommendations, and then take a look at what our comments might be on that. That's what the committee is doing. The committee is trying to get these documents completed so that their project is done. And there's a contract with Weston and Sampson. The contract is to come up with a plan and the ultimate contract documents. What he did say to me is, if you're going to have a series of contract documents, that was not included in the original estimate. The original estimate was for the entire project construction documents. But as I said a few minutes ago, we have not allocated the entire steep planning grant. So I would hope that if there's additional work, that the grant is still available to do so.
I think, you know, if these estimates are on the high side, like you said, to cover things, I think they should reevaluate the estimates to make sure that they are accurate, because when you go to get this money, you want to have an accurate number and not just a high number, because the people aren't going to want it for that high number, I don't think. But if you had a more accurate number, we might be able to get it.
Tighten it up a little.
I have two questions when you're.
Yep. I just want to write that estimates need to be reviewed.
The bonding rate does too.
Well, you first asked for the debt service schedule that we
Yeah.
currently have. And the bonding rates,
4% just seems high to me. Maybe it's not, but.
I don't know, that, I believe when we talked with Bruce, he suggested that number at this point. Because it is over the 20 years.
I would talk to your finance director. I think Tom would have a good idea.
Yeah, I think 4 is, like you said, you could get a better rate, but it would be 20 and adjusted every 5. And I think what for,
We don't usually adjust.
well, I'm just saying, some kind of rate like that.
We don't do that.
No, I'm just saying, I
Yeah.
can see it being high.
Yes.
You get a
Because
low
you
rate
don't-
on the
because
first
there's
5
no-
right now, but you don't know
Well,
what's
when
out.
we financed it, wasn't it 2.95 or 3 point?
It's very low.
Yeah,
That's why,
that refinance.
that's why I thought the 4 was high. So I think Kathy's right. If we overestimate the cost of the project, we reduce the likelihood of it passing. Or even recommending that it be done.
Right, and the other thing to consider is that if you put an entire number out for this project to be done,
and the number is not acceptable, then the project is stalled, because you don't have approval to move ahead with the project. So anything that we put together as a finance plan, or as a plan for doing the project, has to be a reasonable approach, because anything we put out there for questions should be reasonable and acceptable.
Do you know, and I know Fred's got two questions. Do you know what they mean by contractors' general conditions, 12%? Because then they also have contingency, 10%.
but that's something that we can certainly get more
Large
information
adder
on.
with those
Yeah,
too.
sure is.
Good questions.
Fred?
Oh, yeah. What I was wondering is, do we have or can we obtain a sense of what kind of bonding obligation load we can sustain? In other words, I think we talked a little bit about that, but really, where are we now and what's kind of load is reasonable in the future?
There are kind of standards of operation, for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
Fred, and I've forgotten what they are, but I'll bet Tom would know. Certainly your bonding council would know as to what % of your gross budget or what % of your...
Yes. I
Yeah.
know we're
There is-
below, way
there is a-
below.
There is a factor, and we are low, relative to other communities and the standard. I do remember that we're low, but I don't remember what the formula is.
Yeah. And the other thought I had was, we had talked a little bit about this too, but a project like this, clearly, if it were completed, afterwards, there's an issue of maintenance and the cost of maintenance. And we do have problems currently with it. And somehow, I think we have to think about that
God bless you.
as part of the equation tonight,
Excuse me. What is the maintenance plan? Yes.
some kind of.
I'm having
because
allergic
it would
reactions.
probably be pretty big.
Yes. And also, I think, Fred, the estimate of what we currently have, yeah, you
Allergic
never
to
know.
me.
He's moving far away, so I'm not in range.
No, I was afraid you were allergic to me.
I got an allergy pill.
No, I'm okay. In terms of what would not be maintained as opposed to what would be maintained. And the other element, Fred, to your point, is that our current infrastructure, which is the parks and fields and things that we have, the grounds, need improvements themselves right now. And I've asked for a list from, and I had this conversation with Parks and Rec and Grounds, and they need to get a list to us so that we can
Add in that factor.
begin to look at where irrigation is necessary, where maybe some of the grooming that needs to be redone on the fields should be done. These are all things that are known, but they have to be, I think, put in writing so that you will know. So the maintenance plan going forward, as well as, I think, Fred, the current needs of our fields. And then the capital plan and other items that we need to contemplate. And I think we should look at some of the history of the town. The town has done some of these projects in pieces in the past, and they've worked out very successfully. So there are ways of building these fields, and I think we need to explore those and review what we've done in the past. Bransfield Park, I think, was done with operating engineers. And then our Riverfront Park, a lot of our own staff did much of that work. It's a different kind of park, but it's still, a lot of the work was done very successfully by our own crews in concert with grants. Yes,
Yeah, I agree with that. That's what I was trying to say earlier,
you're right.
but you're much more eloquent.
I don't
The only other question I have on this is, if say it's everything status quo is right now on our businesses and so forth in town and population and so forth, this kind of a plan, if it did go into effect and we did do a 20-year bond,
Yep.
how would that reflect in our mill rates and cost per, what is this costing us to the average person, is everyday
Well, I
yearly
think
tax?
to some points that were made earlier, when you look at your debt that you have now, going forward, some of those bonds begin to fall off.
That's what I'm saying.
So the financial advisor, as Mark pointed out, would look at how you would fashion the debt. And I can't answer you immediately because I don't have that picture
Yep.
that Mark's asking for, where you see some
Going
going off,
Right.
some coming on, as well as some of the other, well, that's bonded indebtedness, some of the lease payments will be coming off as well.
Potentially, we could do this project and have it not be, if we timed it properly,
Exactly.
not have it have any negative impact on the taxpayers. It could even end up in a slight reduction, depending on the total price, the cost of the financing, and the timing of the project. So if we did it as other bonds were paid off, it could have no impact. But that's why I asked, as Susan
Yeah,
said, for that
exactly.
information.
That's what we have to see.
I think there's a general consensus that this is a good project and it's something that we should proceed
Absolutely,
with.
yeah.
It's the financing that needs to be carefully.
The cost and the financing, yes. And other financing sources.
Yes. Okay, I'll try to continue to get you some more answers. And if you think of anything else, please let me know. The next item is appointments to boards and commissions. I have none tonight.
None.
The next is new business, the Lower Connecticut River Valley Council of Governments, multi-jurisdiction natural hazard mitigation plan, certificate of adoption. You have a certificate of adoption included here. The mitigation plan is something that we need to have if we ever want to apply for grants in terms of mitigating natural hazards like flood control or rebuilding of items or roads or things that were damaged in storms. For many years, we have not had an approved plan, and with our Lower Connecticut River Valley Council of Governments, they had an approved plan for the lower towns, and using that knowledge, they were able to take the mid-state draft, complete it, and get it approved by the state and the federal government. And in order to have it adopted, each town within the former mid-state region has to approve this resolution at their governing body. So take a minute and review it, if you'd like. It is a 596-page document, and I did not copy the entire document, but I do have the executive summary. if anyone
This is
wants.
what you sent, is this what you sent us a couple of weeks ago?
I may have sent you their draft,
That was 596
and this
pages.
is the 596-page document.
Yeah, I didn't print it or read it. I move adoption of the resolution. Waive the reading.
Second, right?
Any discussion?
This is the same document that all towns signed,
In the mid-state region,
all of them.
yes, they will be. I know Durham has accepted it, and I think 2 other towns have. I'm not sure that all of them have, but they
And
all
there's
have.
total 13, 16,
There's a total of 17 towns
17
in the
towns.
Lower Connecticut River Valley Council of Governments,
and then we pick up.
but I believe there's 8 or 9 in the mid-state region. It would be the towns of Cromwell, Durham, East Haddam, East Hampton, Haddam, Middlefield, Middletown, and Portland. 8.
And it's the same document at all, one
Yes.
side, no changes, no review.
It's the same document that we're all,
Every-
as a region. Doing documents like this individually would be next to impossible. So this is a
Yeah,
regional
I
effort.
understand. The only other thing I was just wondering is, I haven't read it yet, with our possible working down on Dutch Quarry, if any of the mitigations and so forth, it would be negatively impacting us during our, or making it more costly, or any of that.
It's a plan to help mitigate or reduce the risk associated with natural hazards. So if there were, you can see they have a picture of America's Cup or
Yep.
Harbor
Whatever,
Park
Harbor Park.
here that goes underwater.
The canoe
If
club.
there's a way to mitigate that kind of flooding, then you could apply for that. And then there's a formula by which they review, they being FEMA, would review, and
Okay.
if it makes sense, they fund. And you may read a little bit about this in terms of the after effects of Sandy. Many areas, particularly in New Jersey, New York, and Lower Connecticut, applied for grants to mitigate the hazards in the future based on the destruction that occurred. And there's a formula by which, if it makes sense to make
But
the
it's the tool
improvements,
necessary to make that happen.
and this would be, you have to have an accepted plan in order to apply for those kinds of things. They don't just give out the money, you have to make sure that you have a plan for mitigating dangers and damage going forward. So there's a question on the table, there's a motion on the table. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. The next item that is on your agenda is, I realized after you had passed the pay plan that there is a slight error, and it should be identified in your resolution. There is a clerk 1 position. There are 2 part-time people. One is a employee that does work for us sometimes within the technology area. That's called a clerk 1. And there is a part-time person that is a employee at the senior center. She had been making, let me see, 1434. And when we adopted the pay plan and eliminated steps, we took the 1389, which is in the pay plan for 2013-2014, and added 1.75%. And that became 1413, if I'm not mistaken. Is that what it says on the, just a minute. Let's see.
Is it the 1434 and one?
The pay plan that you adopted, let me see the date here. I believe said, whatever 1.75 times 13.89 is. I think it's 14.
you're asking on to?
It's,
I think it's a 1434 plus 1.75.
yes, but what you approved, Kath, was
Mm.
13.89 times 1.0175. That's what you approved last time we approved the pay plan.
1.
If you look at this page, which was the fiscal year 14, step one was $13.89, $13.89. What we did was you took step one, or base, I should say, we took base, and we multiplied that times 1.0175, and I believe it's 14.30 or 14.13. I don't, maybe
If
Mark can
it's
get
times
that.
1.75, it would be 1413.
1413.
1.75.
Yep, percent.
Yeah.
So it was, when you approved the pay plan, you approved it for $14.13. However, the employee was making 14.34. So she got a reduction, and I had to reduce her pay because I didn't have authority to give her anything else.
So what do you want me to calculate?
So the new pay plan is 14.34 times 1 3/4%,
Which is 1459.
which is 14.50.
Okay.
But that, we're doing a double check here.
What did you say it is?
14.59. That is the only number change on this. On the back page, we did have the title Land Use Administrator, Assistant Town Planner, and the minimum salary and the maximum salary are listed there. The range is 64,000 to 91,000, which the employee does not make the maximum, I can assure you. But the position, I would like to have a title of Town Planner instead of Assistant Town Planner. Deanna actually has now an AICP, which is American Institute of Certified Planner.
And you said there's no pay increase?
No pay increase. To her or to the plan. So those are the two changes on this document. And they're identified in your resolution. Is there a motion to approve a correction revision to the non-union employees' pay plan?
So moved.
Second by Brian. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. The next item is a revision suggestion, and I don't know if you're ready for this question. We have not had a change in longevity payments since
96.
I guess. It's way before my time. I thought you might want to take a look at this and think about it. I don't know if you're ready to review this tonight. You can come back to it.
It's like $100.
It's $100.
What does that mean? They get like a little bonus?
You get a bonus, yeah. It's fine.
From a policy standpoint, is that, I know you're only talking about $100, but is that, so is it a reward or is it an incentive that you're actually trying to keep people here longer?
Both.
And is that
But it's a
something you
small
want to
amount.
do, keep people here longer in every position?
You could argue both sides of that. You
Yeah.
could say that to replace them, the cost of training is so expensive that it's not worth it.
I'm
For
just
example,
asking the
with
question, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know the answer, but it's fairly common, and
I don't think it's enough of a,
it's not a hell of a lot of an incentive, but, you know what, it's nice to get a $100 check and a $300 check, whatever it is.
the other thing, that the selectmen have done over time is we've eliminated what we call steps.
Yes.
So the bargaining unit employees do get steps,
Right.
as well as annual increments. And the
It's better than having them
Collectives.
organize into a union and have them be represented by collective bargaining. That would end up costing more. So I would move to adopt the proposal.
is there a second?
Second.
By Fred. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay. We now have refund of excess payments.
I would move that Sharon L. Rosano be refunded $93.62.
Second.
Seconded by Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Move that VW Credit Leasing Limited be refunded $174.51.
Second.
Seconded by Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously.
I move that Joseph B. Kalich or Aline A. Kalich be refunded $88.60.
Second.
Seconded by Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Move that John Riskika or Dorothy Riskika be refunded $34.44.
Second.
Seconded by Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
I move that we go into executive session for the discussion of, for the purpose of discussing collective bargaining and pension agreement with the police.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brian, and it is 8:25. We will turn off the camera. Kyle? And I'll ask you to step in, and I'll entertain our town council to say a few things.
Sure. For the record, Joe McQuaid, Labor Council for the town. We're here to, based on my recommendation, that we ratify a contract with our police union in town. That contract is a 4-year contract, but because we are a year beyond where the contract ran out, it will run from today for another approximately 3 years. The wage increases in that contract, we've worked cooperatively with the police union, and I would commend the police union for their openness and their willingness to work with management to reach an agreement. It should be noted that the police union is taking what I call a hard zero in the first year, which is the fiscal year that just closed. That means a 0% general wage increase and no step movement. And then for the second year, they have a 2% general wage increase with step movement. For the third year, a 2% general wage increase with step movement. And for the fourth year, a 2.5% general wage increase with step movement. We've negotiated over healthcare provisions, and those call for increases in premium cost sharing that will hopefully help the town to contain healthcare costs. The town has also tried to provide police employees and all town employees with a variety of options to meet their needs, and those are being made available to the police union. As part of this negotiation, there's also an extension of the police pension agreement. There are technical amendments to that pension agreement, but in my opinion, the substantive provisions of that agreement remain as they have been, and that will be revisited in approximately 5 years. As with any collective bargaining agreement, there's no perfect agreement, but this is a good agreement both for the union and the town, and I would urge that this board ratify the agreement and the pension agreement. And if there are any questions that anybody has, happy to answer any.
If there are no questions,
I would move that the collective bargaining agreement with the police be, as presented, be ratified.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously.
I would also move that the police pension agreement be ratified.
Is there a
Second.
second? Kathy?
Yep.
Kathy Richards seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously.
And I would also like to thank Susan and Joe for their help in resolving this, and the police officers for what appears to be a mutually rewarding agreement. So I think it is in the best interest of both sides.
Thank you. I would agree.
Thank you for your help.
I would agree. And I want to thank the members of the police union, as well as Joe McQuaid and the members of the board.
Just did that.
Selectman. Thank you. Echo, echo, echo. Thank you. The next item, I do not have an update on the Water and Sewer Subcommittee. Is there any public comment? Is there informal discussion?
Just one quick question on
Sure.
that. We talked about last time, I think, it's come up several times on the sports issue, and I think there was a question about a trophy case, whether they were going to take an initiative or whether we were. I was wondering if there's been any.
I've asked, Fred, and I don't have an answer or an update yet.
Do we know what the Board of Education is going to do for these
I
kids?
do not know.
Can we find out?
Yes. I did speak with the athletic director, and given the vacation schedules.
He may not know either.
He may not know, and we have a new superintendent.
Right. When does the new superintendent begin?
On or about August 15. And the new superintendent, as you may have read in the paper, is Philip
Riley.
O'Reilly.
O'Reilly. I was gonna say that. O'Reilly, thank you.
From New Hartford, right?
From New Hartford, yes. And I did meet Philip O'Reilly, and he was very pleasant, very nice conversation we started, and we will be notified of an open house, probably 2. One likely in the schools, and I would like to have one in the town hall with his offices, so that all can come and meet him. Very pleasant man, and seems to be a very, very good fit for the town of Portland. And I want to congratulate him, as well as wish Dr. Doyen best, and thank her for all of her hard work for the town of
Absolutely.
Portland. We will miss her. And I will try to get more information on the baseball. In fact, I had recently spoken to the Little League, and as we know, they're the feeder organization for baseball, and they have a very successful program as well. And many of the parents that participate work very hard, and they were thrilled to know that our team had won the championship. And also, 2 of our players were in the all-current team. One was on the team, another was an honorable mention. So we're very proud of our players. And as you know, we also had a state championship girls soccer team this year. So we had 2 championships.
It's very exciting for
Yes,
such a small community.
yes. Good job. So I will continue to try to get an answer for you on that and see what we can do to honor the work that's been done. And with that, I do have maybe 5 minutes. I wanted to just let you know about executive session on land acquisition. If I can have a motion to go into executive session on land acquisition.
Second.
Kathy,
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, have a good evening.
Hope you didn't get comfortable.
Sir?
I said, I hope you didn't get comfortable.
I was about to make your life uncomfortable.